Okay. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. If you are watching from home, this is part of our monthly Lunch and Learn series where we try to delve into some important topics. Usually they are victims' rights related, but as we near the holidays, it's so important for us to really take care of our mental health. And as we near the holidays, a lot of people are just kind of missing their loved ones. Bereavement is really a real thing as we come into holidays, not only the winter holidays. I mean, it can be also, Mother's Day, birthdays, anniversaries, all those things. So we're delving into bereavement and the holidays, how to deal, how to help someone. So thanks for joining us today. With us is, of course, Joanna Mupanduki and Dr. Jennifer Maxfield DiCarlo. I will let you guys go ahead and do a brief introduction, and then we'll hop right in. So, Joanna, will you start us off, please?
Sure. Hello, I'm Joanna Mupanduki. I'm the Deputy Director here at Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center. I've been an attorney for a very long time now, 17 years. I've been a prosecutor for a good amount of that time, also a victim rights attorney here at Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center, and now the Deputy Director for about the last year. So I'm very passionate about representing victims and making sure that victims have their opportunity to be heard in court, to be notified about what's going on, and to have their opportunity to be part of the criminal justice process, and not just, hey, notified at the very end as to what is going on. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joanna. And Jennifer.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jennifer Maxfield DiCarlo. I am the Director of Clinical Services at Safe Harbor Behavioral Care. And working with grief and bereavement is really a passion of mine. My PhD research was in looking at hope in grief and bereavement and that kind of thing. So my background is working in shock trauma and in hospice. And so this is just a passion that I've had for a really long time about how to support people well as they're walking through their grief journey.
Thank you so much. That is absolutely amazing. And, as we increase our awareness on how important mental health is, people like you are really making a difference in so many people that kind of need help kind of maneuvering through the system, which is a whole separate different system than we're used to, right, Joanna? We're on the legal side, so we've got to bring in the pros for this. So let's hop into getting through the holidays. People are missing loved ones, whether it be from victims of crime, a criminal activity, or just a loss. I mean, just a natural cause loss. People are missing other people, and it's tough. So, how do you manage the pressure of the holidays and family while you're grieving? What are some tips or hints that you have for some of our followers at home?
Well, That's
a loaded question, huh?
It is, right? And, I would jump in and say overarchingly, I think that one of the most important pieces is to allow yourself grace, right? This is all new, right? You've never walked this path before. Maybe some of you have walked the path before, and so you might have expectations of what it looks like, but just realizing that it's going to require you to be able to give yourself a lot of grace, so that you have moments when you are allowing yourself to just step away and say, you know what, I don't necessarily have to participate like I always have in this holiday. Or, you know what, I'm going to allow myself to participate. And everybody's sort of different in where they are in the grieving process, to be able to just give yourself permission to step away when you need to and engage when you want to. Is really, I think, the overarching key.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that so oftentimes, in our lives, we allow other people so much more grace than we allow ourselves. I tend to be the person that justifies for other people, like, oh, well, maybe they're just having a hard time, and but then when it's yourself, like, you feel like you just have to carry the entire load. And so that is something that I am constantly actually reminding other people, but I need to remember for myself sometimes because I like to carry that full plate, that full load. And while you're grieving, it's a whole separate thing. I was actually before we hopped on live, was sharing about losing. I lost my mother to natural causes, but it was around Mother's Day, and so that Mother's Day was really really tough. And every Mother's Day is really really tough because it's like your soul knows that anniversary is coming up. Like it even if you had forgotten, somehow you don't forget and it comes right back up. Um, and allowing grace is the only way that you can really get through it. So I love that so much. And what about if you're ready to talk to someone? Should we be how do you say? I think that you're as someone who's grieving, you don't want to be the Debbie Downer, right? You don't want to be the person that's making the holidays sad. Or what are some ways that we can like pull in our tribe and kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I would say that like the more open communication you can have with people, the people that you trust in your life, to just be able to say, you know what, look, I want to let you know that like I'm gonna come to that party or I'm gonna come to that dinner, but I might need to step away because I'm grieving. I'm in a place where I don't know how I'm gonna feel. Like I have a 3-foot world right now. And so in the next 3 feet, I'm good. And I might not be good in 24 hours, or I might not be good in 3 hours. So I just need to be able to have the grace to be able to change on a dime and be like, you know what, I spent 20 minutes and now I got to go. And really have that communication with people and say, hey, I just want to let you know, this isn't me not wanting to push myself or anything like that. Cause I feel like we have this pressure that, especially with the holidays, whether we've lost someone or not, we have pressure around the holidays, right? I think we all probably can agree. Like there's so much pressure to be something or do something, and to be able to just let people in our world know that I might not be able to live up to that expectation. And I'm going to let you know that ahead of time so that you know what's going on with me. I think that's really, really important to have that communication.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so what if someone isn't great at vocalizing where they're yeah, I think that's like the other ticket, right? Like in the things that we've talked about, it was really people that are maybe a little bit more aware of where they are and what they need. But so
Mm,
many people don't, like they're not vocal about where they're at
yeah.
emotionally. And we see it in other people, right? Like if you're aware of your surroundings and you're aware of the people that you care about, you can see that they're a little quieter or detached. How can
Mhm.
we support them? How can we help them in their process without being pushy?
Yeah. I think it's such a great point, because as loved ones who maybe we have a loved one who's lost someone, right? Or friends that we know they lost one, there's always that like feeling. It's funny because we know that this is not helpful, but there's always that feeling like, oh, I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to make them start grieving or start feeling bad, which we know is completely irrational, right? Like there's no way that you have someone that you love that you're not thinking about already. Someone bringing it up, my best friend bringing up to me that my dad died on Christmas. If they just say to me, hey, you know what? I know this has the potential to be really hard. Just want you to know, like, I know you're missing your dad, and gosh, I miss him too. Like it gives me the open door to be able to say, yeah, you know what? This morning I was down memory lane thinking about what Christmas or Thanksgiving or the holidays look like and what it's going to look like with him not being here. We, as friends and supporters, can open that door to just have the conversation. I think that's sometimes we need that push, right? Because we're like, oh, I don't want to bring it up because I don't want someone to think that I'm just down. Well, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to bring it up so that way they can know that I might be perfectly fine now, and in 10 minutes I might not be. right? I think that's the biggest thing with grief is we oscillate back and forth. Like it's amazing the way our brains work. And this is something that I was like, I might be fine, perfectly fine. And then I go to a party and I smell something or I see something and it triggers a memory of the person that I've lost. And the next thing you know, I'm not fine anymore. I'm not fine. Like, I got to walk outside. I got to give myself like permission to have an escape route so that I can just have a moment by myself or just walk away.
So Jennifer, is it good to like share a happy memory too that you might have of someone's loved one? Is that a good thing to do as well?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you the research on that part, but I know my own experience when someone has done that for me and just been like, oh man, I remember how your dad used to do little magic tricks at Christmas all the time. It's like, oh man, like I didn't even think about that. That's awesome. I remember that. And I think it's really just shows that there's a safe space to attend to whatever emotion you have, right? Whether that's something that is a positive or just like, I'm really hurting in this moment. It just opens the door to have the conversation.
And I think it's also nice, again, you said you didn't know the research, but I mean, as someone who's lost loved ones as well, I think, everyone's kind of lost someone that they care about in some capacity. It's nice to know that they're not forgotten as well, that other people think about them.
Yeah.
And that has happened to me. My mom was like the big cook. Like she used to cook all the things for all the, she'd always bring her like meatballs or this or that. And then like my cousin would call and be like, hey, what's the recipe for this? Did she ever leave it? And it's like just a random thought, but just knowing that other people remember positive things is such a strong, like, I don't know. It's just such a strong connection. And it allows you, like you said, to kind of be in that space and gives you permission to share. And so I love that as well. What are some ways that you can what are some things that and I've heard this before from Roberta. We've done for those of you at home, there was another bereavement session that we did, a lunch and learn with Roberta, who's our founder. If you are not familiar with Roberta's story, her daughter was very young when she was murdered. I'll leave all the details out, but of course, the holidays were really tough. She was the first child, Roberta's best friend and all that stuff. And so we have a session where she has like little things that she's done with our support group. Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center has a homicide support group that meets hybrid, online, virtually, and in person. And so she shares bereavement tips in the session. She probably did one already, or she'll do one at the beginning of December, just to kind of get through the holidays as well, especially for the new people that are dealing with new emotions and don't have those best practices that some of the people that have been around a little bit longer. But what are there some ways that you think are creative ways to honor loved ones during this season?
I love that.
Tricky,
I've worked with
tricky.
so many people who have like, I don't know, should we do something to honor, or should we just pretend that everything's fine? And I'm always like, oh yeah, like let's not pretend that everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
Let's do something to just be like, hey, you know what? There's a hole in my heart, and I'm bringing what I got left to this holiday. Like there's
Yeah, like
a whole
that's the opposite. Ignoring it is the opposite of self-care, right? Like that's exact opposite.
Right. But it's interesting, especially with my work with families, how everybody kind of thinks that like, well, I don't want to, dad died, so I don't want to say anything to upset mom, or like, I'd really like to continue this tradition, but I don't want to upset mom. And, we have all these, again, sort of irrational thoughts about what's going to upset people and what's not. And so I always say like coming up with a way to just honor the legacy of that person, in your celebrations. And it might look completely different. I had a one lady that I worked with who had lost her dad, and it was funny because you mentioned meatballs. Like, I think that's a thing. Meatballs are a thing. She made for Christmas. Her dad always made the meatballs, so she made the meatballs, and they set a plate for him, even though he wasn't there, and he had a plate of meatballs at the table. And it was just, it was so healing for the family to just be able to continue that tradition, and even though he wasn't there, to be able to have that tradition, and there was a plate set for him with meatballs on it. So those kinds of things I think are really important to figure out. Do we have traditions that we're in a place to be able to continue to just honor that person's presence, even though they're not there physically with us? And it's interesting because honestly, it can go either way. That's the thing about grief, is that it might be that for someone, this year might be the year that you say, you know what, I need to do something totally different. We're going to break from tradition completely. Instead of having a big Thanksgiving, we're going to go away and do something else. The year after my dad died, instead of Thanksgiving, we went to Great Wolf Lodge, and we took the kids and we partied all weekend. And because there was a loss, and we said, we need to do something completely different this year. And that's okay too. So I think it really, grief is not one of those things where you can be like, this is the way through. The only way through is to face and keep on walking, because your journey is going to look so different than someone else's. So sometimes it's about like abandoning all and doing something different. And sometimes it's just about keeping tradition and kind of figuring out a way to keep a legacy. And it might change. Thanksgiving could look one way. Other holidays could look a different way. It really depends on kind of where people are at.
Yeah, thanks for that so much. I definitely think that there are, ways that we can all kind of do that head nod, and it is different for everybody. I mean, I definitely have spent a few days in bed that I probably should have been up, but, just wasn't in me, and I've also done more. For my household, we do put up a tree, so I have an ornament with my mom's photo on it that was gifted to me by some friends, which was really, really thoughtful. And, those little things are so great. And again, when you're with people that you feel safe with, you've got a little bit more space to kind of reach out to your tribe when you're kind of feeling down. So thanks for that. And a plate of meatballs definitely could be common in most households at this point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing too is to just allow yourself to be able to oscillate between having fun and having to take a timeout, right? Timeouts are a good thing sometimes, just to be able to step back and be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let myself laugh. Sometimes we feel like we can't allow ourselves that. And I'm going to let myself laugh. I'm going to let myself enjoy the moment. And I'm also going to let myself say, I've reached my capacity, and I'm going to walk away now. Right. So, maybe you don't spend the 6 hours around the holidays with people, but you spend the hour and a half, and you say, okay, that's my limit. I'm going to enjoy what I can, and then I'm going to step away.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think it's so great that you said, you're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to laugh and tell jokes, and you're allowed to be you're allowed to do all the things that you need to do. There's no hard fast rule. Wouldn't it be nice for those of us that are trying to lift someone else up if there was hard fast rules on what to do? But we all get to be individuals, and we get to have our own feelings, and it just makes it really hard for everybody else because everyone wants to be supportive and they want to do the right thing. And for some people, it might be not talking about it and acting like everything's okay. I mean, so feeling your way through is the tough part, But so what are so let's say, mental health is such a challenging, for those of you at home, we actually started a partnership with Safe Harbor, because we are finding a lot of our clients were having a hard time finding professional help when they needed it. Um, and someone, whenever you go to a doctor, you want to get like, oh, who do you guys like and who do you recommend? But when it comes to mental health, you might not want to do a survey of your friends on who's the mental health provider you see, like who do you recommend, because it's just such a personal thing. How challenging would it be to get like, do you have tips and hints on how to get in to see someone, or maybe like a stopgap measure to get through the holidays? I know it usually takes some time to do like an intake and get professional help. Like it takes, sometimes it takes a few weeks. It's not like you're going to be seen tomorrow because you're feeling some kind of way. It, is a little bit more of a challenge than that. But there's also support groups and phone lines or what have you. What are some tips and hints that you can give to our viewers or just the community as a whole as to getting through the holidays until they can, get in to see someone?
Well, can I jump in real quick and talk about
Yeah, please.
our program with Safe Harbor? So we're really happy that we have a relationship with Safe Harbor where we, Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center, we have gotten grant funding so that we can pay a contractor, in this case it's Safe Harbor, to provide counseling to crime victims who are in need of mental health counseling. So we're able to do that on an ongoing basis. And what we do is we pay for the first 6 sessions, and then after that, we get insurance involved so that our funds can go longer. And then we help pay for deductibles after that. As well. So we're very excited to work with Safe Harbor because of that. So that's a new program that we just started in June, and we have referred, I think the last I saw as of Friday, we've referred 186 patients to Safe Harbor. So we're really excited that we have that program. It's been very well received, and we're really happy. So we want to make sure that people know we have that program and that is available, and they're able to get people in within a few weeks. The easiest way is to have it virtual, but there are locations where people can see a counselor in person throughout the state of Maryland. And the virtual counseling is obviously that's much easier because it's from your living room wherever you may live in the state of Maryland. So I just want to jump in and let people know about that program. But then I'll let Jennifer talk about it because about that program, but then also other recommendations and kind of who you can see and who could help, before you can see someone in person or through any other program, and obviously the other people out there. So thank you.
Thanks, Joanna.
Yeah, we're really excited about the partnership. We at Safe Harbor have over 250 counselors who work with us, and many of them are trained in trauma-informed care and grief and bereavement. And so they are able to, our intake usually gets people in to be seen within 2 weeks, if not shorter. So we're really excited to be able to offer that for folks. And I know that also is, you have a lot going on over the holidays, and then you're like, I think I really need added support. And it takes such strength to be like, I really do need this. And I'm going to pull away from all of the other responsibilities and things that I'm trying to balance to actually invest in me to make sure that I'm okay. So that's really, I think, the message that I would want everybody to hear is that taking care of you is going to take care of all of your loved ones because you're investing time in getting what you need. It's so important to just have somebody to journey alongside you. And I think the biggest thing too is just to be able to have someone who can say, every time I'm working with someone who's grieving, I was like, I think I'm going crazy. They're like, yeah, that's what it feels like when you're grieving, right? You're not going crazy. This is what grief looks like, and we can, stand beside you and walk you through that process, and even just remind you over and over again, you're not going crazy, whatever that even means. But it's so important, right? To be able to just stand beside someone and say, yeah, I'll bear witness to the pain that you're feeling and walk this journey with you so that you have someone beside you who can reality test, yeah, you know what, this is, you're okay. You're walking through this and you don't feel okay. And that's part of the process. So really, I couldn't say more about our counselors who are just really trained to be that person to journey with you and help you through. We also have med managers as well. So if people are like, yeah, I really just like it's my anxiety level has gotten so high, I just need maybe a medication evaluation. We have that as well. Um, and so we have over 15 providers who provide med management for folks too. And we know the best outcome is to have, therapy and med management if that's what people need to really give wraparound services like that. So that's what we offer at Safe Harbor. I would just plug one more resource too, and it's not necessarily a specific place, but a lot of churches, even if you're not religious at all, do a like service. A lot of times, people want to go to a Christmas service or a holiday service or synagogue. They have services that are for people who have lost someone, and I think that that's just such an important piece too, because a lot of folks, if it's part of your tradition to attend something like that, and then it feels unbearable to be able to do that over the holidays and fill that tradition, I would really look out for that because there's a lot of community resources of churches and synagogues that really design a service so that you can have that tradition, but also specifically for folks who have lost someone. And I find that to be really helpful as well, if that's something that's in your normal tradition.
Absolutely, absolutely. And going back to what you were saying, I definitely think that it's the I'm going crazy. Just kind of it's okay to be not okay. Has been like the saying that's been kind of trending. Like it's okay if you feel that way because XYZ happened. Like, did you think that you were just gonna walk away and just be fine? Like, what a huge loss you had, or what a vacant spot you have. And so it's just okay. Like it's okay. You're working through it and you're identifying what you need and you're reaching out for appropriate help when needed. And I think that's just such a strong statement. And thanks for sharing all the things about medication management is so important as well, especially for people that have complex medications. Like if you're medicated for other things and the interactions can be challenging, particularly if you're newly on like an anxiety medication and how that relates to something else. Because when you don't have someone that's managing that for you, you have to become your own pharmacist and figure out what those interactions are, which is, you don't go to school for it. It's not so easy.
Mhm.
So thanks for mentioning that as well, because I think that is such an important component of healthcare as a whole, self-care, mental health, and all that, because those interactions can be tough, and then they can present themselves as anxiety or as something else,
Mhm.
which is you're like, well, I thought I was doing okay, and then all of a sudden, you got that stuff in your system and it's interacting, and you just think that you're going crazy.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that as well. Do you have any like hotlines that you know about that you would recommend people reaching out to? I know that there are other bereavement groups that are out there that are not as specific as ours. Ours is a homicide. Our current support group is homicide specific, but there are other ones that are uh, for widowers and people that deal with bereavement all the time. Are there ones that you know off the top of your head that we can maybe recommend for those who may need it during the holiday season?
I don't have any off the top of my head for that, but I can definitely get some resources so that people have a quick sheet of
Yeah.
resources for hotlines and things like that that they can call in and just talk to somebody. So we can definitely do that.
Yeah, we would appreciate that. And then I can drop those in the comment section or in the details as needed. Okay, so anything that we want to talk about? Joanna, did you want to expand on MCVRC's program and our partnership with Safe Harbor as far as the details?
Yeah, the details that we have are, if anyone is interested in counseling because they are a victim of crime, there are two ways to get in contact with us. One, they can call us at our 1-800 number. I think, can you put that in the
Yep.
and then they can also, so you can call and talk to an advocate and let them know that you are a victim of a crime and you're seeking counseling assistance. We also offer other assistance. We have legal services to provide you and other support services. So you can speak to the advocate and tell them about your circumstances, and they can direct you in the right way. We will get you in touch with the right advocate who works in your county, and so that they can assist you. You can also go to our website, which is mdcrimevictims.org, and you can do an online intake if you would prefer to do that instead of talking to a real person. So depending on your preference, if you'd rather do it on the computer or talk to a real person, you can either call us on the phone or do it online. Either way works. We'll get you in touch with us.
Which is such a resource for our community that is not as like tech savvy. Just call on the phone.
It's true. And we do have Spanish speaking advocates. So you can call and speak to a Spanish speaking advocate. So that is available as well.
Perfect.
So we have that availability.
Lovely. And do you want to talk a little bit about insurance details? Do people have to be insured, or how does that work?
So they do not have to be insured. It's just that if you are insured, we want to use the resources that are available to help pay for the counseling so that our grant dollars can go further and we can help more victims. And if you are on Medicaid, we want to use those resources as well. And if you are eligible, then we ask that you apply so that we can use those resources. But we do try to help everybody that we can who comes in and asks for counseling. To the extent that we have the grant funds to do that, we do cover everyone that we can.
Yeah. Perfect. So just to reiterate, the program that we have available it kind of serves as a resource twofold. Number one, if you have insurance, but you're just having a hard time finding a provider, and you've been a victim of crime, right? So you've been a victim of crime, you have insurance, but you're like, man, everybody I call, they don't have any openings. I'm having such a hard time. I really need help. We have this program that's available, and we would like to connect you using your insurance. If you've been a victim of crime and you don't have insurance, then still call in and we would like to connect you. So it serves both if you have insurance and if you don't. If you've just been having a hard time finding a provider, we have secured that and have had a great relationship thus far for 2024, and we look forward to doing that into 2025. So also, if you have not been a victim of crime, but you know someone who is a victim of crime, and you're thinking that they really need to talk to someone, let them know that we have this available for them. We have other resources available to them. This is kind of like what we do. We are a victim resource center, and we're providing and have this partnership with Safe Harbor as a resource for victims. So it's not something that's new with us, to kind of be that intermediary to assist in any way that we can. And if the people that you know that need services are, victims of homicide or victims of what have you, let us know how we can help it. And maybe our advocates and attorneys know of other resources that would be a good fit for that person to kind of get through some of the healing that they need to do or that they might need help with. Okay. Anything to add to that little bit?
I would just add too is that one thing that I think is amazing is that grief is over time, right? We're never the same person as we are the minute that we lose someone, right? And so for the people out there who are like, oh well, you know what, I lost this person 5 years ago. I should be that terrible should word, right? I should be over it. Oh my heavens, no, right? That's not the way it works. And you know that personally. If you've ever lost someone, it's not it doesn't go away. And I've had clients who've come in and been like, look, I lost my mom 10 years ago. And all of a sudden it's coming up for me and like I'm a wreck and I feel like I can't function. And yeah, yeah. So sometimes for grief, we have that delayed reaction. And so it doesn't matter if the loss was, this year and it's fresh and you're trying to find your new normal and what that looks like, or if it was 10 years ago and it's coming up for you now and you're working through a delayed grief reaction, like that is all of those things are within the normal grieving pattern of what we see. So I just want to encourage people that it doesn't matter where you are in the grieving process to be able to reach out and have someone walk alongside you in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The should be over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's over it? What does that mean? That's such a tough thing. And yeah, how do you get over that, right? How do you get over
Yeah,
that whole?
we're
I feel
all,
like, and I have. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jennifer.
no, I was just going to say, like, we are all trying to find our new normal, right? And new normal happens over and over again. It's like I have my own experience in talking with folks, and they're, I thought that I was doing really well with this person and having lost this person. And now my kids are graduating from high school. And guess what? Grandpa's not going to be there. And so now and I'm going through it again of grieving the
Yeah.
loss again. And it's, I always think about it. I might be aging myself, but do you remember those kid toys that like the round thing, and you try to put the square in and the triangle in, and you're like trying to
Oh, yeah, like
push
the
them.
little Tupperware, like this. Yeah, the shape sorter.
Yes. And that's really what grief is like we are constantly putting those shapes back in and be like, okay, now what does normal look like? Oh, wait, now this person is not available for the holidays or for our graduation or any really important event. Like, oh, now I got to try to fit it in again and reprocess through that grief and what my life looks like in this new normal. So it's a process.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it, and you never know what the trigger is. Like right now, like we're talking about the holidays because it's just the assumption that holidays are tough. Like holidays are tough for people. Um, but for me, it could be something random. Like I'm having a hard time with my kid, and I'm yelling at him, and I'm not being very patient. But you know who was really patient? My mother was very patient, and so I'm like, oh my God, if I had her here right now. I would call in for like reinforcements, and so it is so innocuous because it'll be like June 18th at 7 p.m. It's nothing. It's not a date that's, anything that's anything. But it is a life experience that, you could really use that other person. So, although we're sharing this right now, grief and bereavement and the holidays, these tips can really go for anything. It could be a picnic. It could be your person loved 4th of July. I mean, it could be like every summer or every spring break we went to here. It doesn't have to be a holiday. It could be nothing. It could be just a day on the calendar. So kind of like moving with that intention, I think is always a plus.
Yeah.
And not to be I shoulda and get over it focus.
Right. Yeah. No expectations of the journey. It looks different for everyone. And to give yourself right back to that grace, give yourself the grace to figure out what your journey looks like is so important.
I was going to say the same thing about going back to the first thing you said was allow yourself some grace. Okay, I think that's all that we have. Ladies, was there anything that you wanted to add to this conversation before we do our closing remarks?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jennifer, anything?
No, it's so great to be able to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. So Jennifer, do you want to go ahead and do your closing? You want to share your information? I know that you shared some of the resources that you guys have available. Do you want to go ahead and share your site and how to get in contact and all that good stuff?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just really, I can there's lots of different ways to get a hold of Safe Harbor in general. Our website, people also can call in. I'll put that in the chat as well. But again, we have over 250 counselors. We're all over the state of Maryland, Virginia, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. And so just have a lot of resources to be able to serve people and journey with them through whatever they might be going through. Again, we have med management. We also have a program for folks who have more intense needs. So we have a DBT program, which is really helpful as well for folks who are sort of in that space where like, I think I need to go to the hospital, but I really don't want to do that because that can be traumatic in and of itself. So we have a program for folks to keep them out of the hospital and just resourced with skills to be able to manage their symptoms at home. So we have that program as well. And there's lots of great information on our website about that as well. And so yeah, we're here. We love serving the community. We're so excited to be in this grant program with you all because this is, I told Joanna when we first started this, one of my first jobs was working at Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital with children who were victims of violent crime and things like that. And I remember y'all coming in and working with me as a little budding social worker. I'm not going to say how long ago it was, but a really long time ago, and thinking, wow, this organization is amazing. So now to be able to circle back and be able to support you all is just phenomenal to be able to do that. So glad we're here and so grateful and honored to be part of the process.
Thank you so much. And what is your website?
It is safeharbourbc.com. I'm going to put it right in this chat here for you.
Okay, you got it.
So
Okay, great.
that.
And I had meant to earlier talk about the Zoom appointments, which I know that a lot of people at home, like, maybe you prefer to see someone in person, but, having the ability to do it virtually, I think is such number one, traffic, getting those appointment times, you don't have to pick and choose whether you're picking your kid up from soccer or going to, like, you can do, all the things by having the virtual ability, and maybe, once in a while being in person so that you can kind of feel that connection. But it really is just such an opportunity. Technology has allowed us to do that. So make sure that you're taking advantage of those opportunities to kind of self-heal and take the steps that you need for your own personal care. Joanna, was there anything that you wanted to add before we hopped off?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Jennifer and to Safe Harbor. It's really been a pleasure to work with Safe Harbor. We just had really positive feedback from our clients who have been attending sessions with Safe Harbor. They've really enjoyed their counselors and the help. They've enjoyed working with them. And it's been just so helpful to them to just not have to stress about where do we find counselors, how can we get appointments, all of that. So it's just such a great resource for us. This is something we've wanted to offer for a long time, and it's been difficult to find the funding for it. So we're very excited that we got finally the funding for it, and that we were able to make this connection and get it up and running. So we're very happy about that. So thank you, Jennifer, for that, for coming on today, for talking about this important topic for people. It's so hard to lose loved ones, especially due to a violent crime, and to have to face the holidays without them. And it's not just the first year, it's the second year, it's the third year, it's 10 years, 20 years down the road. I think every year it goes longer and you see more of your life that has gone by without them, and you realize how much more you have missed out of that person's life. And so it's a very difficult time for a lot of people. So thank you, Jennifer, for being here today and helping people. So we appreciate you.
Well said, Joanna. Well said. So I guess, we leave you with this. Please, we are planning our December Lunch and Learn in process. Jennifer and I are going to talk about it this week. But for January, mark your calendars. If you are a avid follower of Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center, we're going to do our State of MCVRC Lunch and Learn in January. It'll be a call to action of things that we are working on legislatively. We are putting our hat out there and really can use all the support that we can to make sure that victims' voices are heard. We're looking to make some updates and some changes for 2025. So if that is something that you are passionate about, if you want to share your story, if you want to come with us to Annapolis and help us enact the change that we see, please tune in January. We'll have more details then as to what we plan on doing. We're still gathering right now, but we'll be ready to divulge some information. It'll be all victims' rights based. And so we'll have that to share. And if you're ready to make some big changes, add us to your New Year's resolution and join us on the third Tuesday of January for more info. In the meantime, I hope that you've learned something today or that you feel more empowered to help those around you. If you need help, please reach out. Even if it's to our 877 line, someone will answer the phone. Someone will try to help direct you. The information for Safe Harbor is there. It does take time to get through the process of getting an appointment and all those things. The sooner the better, so that you have things in place when you need them. We have all kinds of resources available. Share this information with, on your social media. Give us a good follow. These are all available on YouTube for historical reasons. If you see this, now and you need it later, please, you never know who you're helping out there when you share information. So just make sure you do that, and hope you guys are able to tune in December, and otherwise, because December is a little crazy for everybody, we hope to see you in January when we're really trying to get everybody activated and make a great 2025. Okay. Thanks so much. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.